She is very passionate about the environment.
She's quite a lady, and I appreciate all that she has done.
Being a representative of a district in a city and championing a cause like this, that speaks volumes.
I've always been into sustainability. This would go back to the first term of Shirley Franklin. Oh my goodness. We applied for a grant from Dell Computers for $10,000. They said, collect all the computers, the used computers, printers, back then people were not even throwing their cell phones away. So it was really computers. Get it back to us. They gave us $10,000 to get it back to Dell Computers. And then they were going to properly dispose of them by taking the plastic, the glass, all the little parts, and taking it apart and then recycling all the parts that are inside a computer. And I loved that, and Cheryl loved it.
I got the word out by just going to all our neighborhood associations. I mean, literally every one of them.
We did it at the Civic Center. That was the very first one. Called for volunteers, and people started showing up.
Actually, my mom passed away in 2006. It was my task for the next couple of years to clean their house out, whether it's paint and chemicals, old clothes, paper shredding. What do you do? So it kind of set me on a mission with this. At the time, the City of Atlanta's recycling manager was Mary Harrington, and I came down to see her, what would you suggest I do? Because really, I had no intention of doing this myself. It was more of City of Atlanta, what do people do? So she eventually hooked me up with Carla Smith.
When Peggy came to us in the beginning, we did our very first hazardous waste. They were having an eco convention out at Atlantic Station. But then I got to know the Braves. Steve Smith worked for Turner Broadcasting, and so he introduced me to Mike Plant. Mike Plant was over the stadium. We needed a parking lot, and we asked him, we said, can we use your parking lot? After that, we had met David with electronic waste locally. We didn't have to pay a truck to add to the carbon footprint to drive it all the way to Austin, Texas. So we started doing our electronic events at Turner Field.
Carla being Carla, we always tell anybody, the volunteers or anybody else, you have to have good shoes on and so on and so forth. Stuff's heavy, blah, blah, blah. Here comes Carla walking up with flip-flops. That was kind of an ongoing joke every year after that. I feel that she really grew the awareness. She helped us grow it, for electronics.
We started off with computers and the tires. The tires, Lord have mercy.
What we loved about the TAL chapter of Omega Sci-Fi was that they really embraced the sustainability of all of this.
We spread the word within other organizations, fraternities, and sororities.
Sat down with Councilmember Smith, and it was like, it's crazy to continue to do these events once a year at this cost, when at this cost, we could have a permanent facility. Long story short, we were able to lease property from, at that time, it was the Department of Public Works. And Carla was, we're here, let's go. And that was the creation of Charm. 2015, when we opened, we had 5,000 people the entire year. Last year we had over 35,000, and it was COVID, as well as we're only open 3 days a week.
Charm is a nonprofit. They do it with a very little help from the city and a whole lot of help from our communities. So I want to thank the people that utilize Charm, but I really want to thank the people that donate to Charm.
You have to leave the place better than when you got here.
It's been a journey and a challenge that without Councilmember Smith, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today.
She cared about the environment and finding a way for her people to dispose of this stuff properly, instead of it just being on the side of the road.
She's been a true servant leader for the district and the city, and we appreciate her so much. Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Transportation Committee. My name is Andre Dickens. I have the honor of serving as your chairperson for this committee, and I am glad that you guys have all joined here today for our committee meeting. I want to first do an introduction of the members as I have called this meeting to order. Ms. Pulandini, I see several members, but I want you to do a roll call.
Sure, Mr. Chair. Councilmember Brown?
Here.
Councilmember Faroki? Councilmember Ide? Councilmember Marquardt?
Here.
Councilmember Overstreet?
Present.
Councilmember Westmoreland?
Here.
Thank you. We have 5 members on the line, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Thank you, members. If I know Mr. Faroki's out with his newborn, and we congratulate him on that, him and his family. And we will proceed. If another member joins, we will gladly acknowledge them. Oh, great. Great. Thank you, Ms. Ide. So now we have 6 members here. Okay, so now let's please, Ms. Pulandini, read the remote meeting statement.
This Transportation Committee meeting is being conducted remotely as advertised and as in accordance with OCGA 50-14-1. The meeting will be conducted in conformance with Robert's Rules of Order and the Rules of Council as authorized by the City Code. The public may access the meeting by dialing 877-579-6743, conference ID 831-599-1256, which was noted on the April 23rd public meeting notice. The public may also view the meeting on Channel 26, the Council's homepage at citycouncil.atlantagA.gov, the Council's YouTube channel, or the Council's Facebook and Twitter pages via @ATL Council. All presentations are available on the Atlanta City Council Transportation Committee presentation page. The agenda was published and made available on April 23rd via atlantacitygA.iqm2.com. In addition, the public was able to submit comments via voicemail at 404-330-6059 between the hours of 4 and 7 p.m. the day before this meeting. All persons present on the remote council meeting conference bridge are requested to mute your phones and speakers must be acknowledged by the presiding officer prior to speaking. Each council member is requested to open their Outlook email and minimize the screen. Amendments, substitutes, and informational documents have been distributed to committee members beforehand. Thank you all in advance for your cooperation.
All right, thank you, Ms. Pulandini. All right, members, I make a motion that we adopt the agenda. Is there a second?
Second, Brown.
All right, seconded by Mr. Brown. Let's prepare our vote electronically. Is our electronic system up now or is it down?
Yes,
Still down.
I'm sorry, that was multiple people. Oh, it looks like it's up. I am seeing votes come in, so looks like it's working now. So Mr. Brown is going to be voice voting today, and you were the seconder. So Ms. Ide, how do you vote? Hello, Ms. Ide. Okay, we'll proceed, and she's probably having some technical difficulties. We'll mark her away on this vote.
And the vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The agenda has been adopted.
Okay, now I make a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
Second, Brown.
All right, it's been moved and properly seconded. Let's vote.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote?
And Mr. Chair, I'm on the system now.
Okay, great. All right, so Ms. I think she's still away, so let's proceed.
I think her phone got disconnected off the system.
Okay. Can someone reach out to her?
I'm back on now. I'm sorry. I'm having technical challenges this morning. I'm trying to get back on the system.
Okay. All right, good deal. Good. Did that vote go through? And did you call out the result?
The vote is closed. It was 5 yeas, 0 nays. Would you like us to amend the vote to add Councilmember I?
Yes, please.
Okay. So it's 6 yeas, 0 nays, and the minutes have been approved.
Perfect. All right. Now let's go to public comment. I think we have, what, 2 or 3?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have about 2 comments, or 1 comment.
Oh.
And they'll be played. It'll be played now.
Okay.
Greetings to you, committee members and staff, and special greetings to you, citizens and voters of Atlanta, monitoring your government in action this election year. Ben Howard, Senior Advocate, Public Policy Analyst. The federal government is poised to spend millions of dollars on infrastructure, roads and bridges and overpasses and underpasses, and yes, even belt lines. Will residents of Neighborhood Planning Unit R be able to have a discussion about these money-related matters? No, because NPUR does not have and has never had a transportation committee. The male and female bus drivers of bus routes 71, 81, and 83, serving the Cascade and Campbellton corridors, reportedly will receive $3,500 for coronavirus assistance instead of $10,000 for coronavirus assistance because they couldn't muster the 400 votes required for the $10,000 option. There are those who believe that if union members have been allowed to vote at the hubs and had not been restricted to vote only at union headquarters, there will be more money circulating in our community because 400 plus Atlanta Transit Union members would have received the $10,000 allocation. Will the residents and stakeholders of Neighborhood Planning Unit R be able to ask what is going to happen with the multi-million-dollar difference between $3,500 per member and $10,000 per member? No, because NPUR does not have and has never had a transportation committee. But NPUR does have a zoning committee perennially chaired by Renetto Scott, aided and embedded by undercover lobbyist Colas Clare and our cohorts, which holds clandestine meetings behind the scenes discussing money-related matters that never get explicitly placed on the NPUR agendas or reported in zoning committee minutes. To nullify the NPUR 9 negativities, there is an urgent need to enact stronger citizen participation legislation. I caution you again that any attempt you might make to increase citizen participation at NPUR will be met with fierce resistance from the NPUR 9, Vice Chair Antonita Robinson, Colas Clare, Ricardo Jacobs, Vanette L. Scott, Albert White, Allison Hathaway, Sherry Williams, Cheryl Brown, and the underground supporters of the NPUR 9 syndicate.
And that concludes our public comment.
Okay. All right. Good. Thank you, Ben Howard, for your comment. All right. Now, council members, we're going to go to a presentation from the Department of Transportation, Josh Rowan, Doug Nagy, and also students and folks from Georgia Tech that have an update on our streetlight evaluation. If you recall, this committee passed legislation that I authored it and we all supported it regarding streetlights streetlight study. That was back in November 2020, and Josh Rowan and his leadership quickly got to work, and we have an update. So this is a good time for us to hear the outcomes of that study. So, Mr. Rowan and team, are you all on the line?
Mr. Chair, this is Josh Rowan, Commissioner, Atlanta Department of Transportation. You gave an excellent introduction. I'm not going to add anything to it other than to say this team did a fabulous job, and we're excited to present the results today. So I'd like to turn it over to Deputy Commissioner Doug Nagy, and he can kick us off today.
Perfect. Good morning, everybody. I'm very excited to present our Georgia Tech team to everybody on the call. We've had 8 industrial engineering students from Georgia Tech who are absolute cracks at data analytics. They've turned into cracks on streetlights. They can say all you need to know about streetlights. And they've done a wonderful study of the entire city of where we most need streetlights. And so I don't want to steal their thunder. I just want to present them. And they can walk us through the information. And then at the end, if you have any questions, both our ATL DOT team and the Georgia Tech students are available. Jordy and the team, are you guys ready?
Yes.
Good
morning.
Okay, perfect.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. So let's get started. We want to first thank everyone for attending this presentation. We also want to thank the Atlanta DOT for all the help and support, as well as the Transportation Committee for allowing us to share the results of our project. Moving on to slide number 2, as Doug said, we are a team of 8 industrial engineering students from Georgia Tech that worked on this as part of the Senior Design Capstone Project. The team partnered with the DOT last year in August and began working on the project in January of this year. On the next slide, it is important to note that this project was evaluated through the lens of 2 key stakeholders: the Atlanta DOT, which provides the street lighting, and the citizens and visitors who consume the street lighting. On slide 4, today's agenda, we're going to start our presentation with the context of the lighting study. On the next slide, we see that many studies in the U.S. have shown a correlation between increased lighting and a reduction in crimes and crashes. This includes studies in New York City, where improving lighting showed a 36% reduction in crime, and in Detroit, where pedestrian fatalities reduced from 24 per year to 1 after replacing and repairing 55,000 lights. After seeing these results, the DOT would like to make a strategic streetlight expansion a focus in their efforts to improve public safety here in Atlanta. So now let's move on to the motivation slide, slide 6. Here, the team feels very motivated to tackle this problem, since we believe that by improving street lighting, there are going to be many benefits for the citizens and visitors of this city. One, for example, would be increased visibility, since more light makes it more difficult for criminals to get away with crime without being seen. This increased lighting also promotes natural surveillance, since there would be more people on the streets deterring harmful acts from happening. Also, by creating these safer areas, there would be an increase in community confidence, which enables informal social control and also reduces crime. Lastly, regarding traffic, drivers and pedestrians on the road are both going to benefit, since increased lighting would make it way more likely for drivers to see traffic control signals and pedestrians as well. Ultimately, all of these benefits are expected to lead to a decrease in crime and crashes in the city of Atlanta. So now Isaac will talk about the ranking methodology used to achieve this on slide 7.
Thank you, Esteban. So currently there are over 52,000 streetlights around the city. About 80% of them are managed by Georgia Power and then leased to the city, and then the remaining 20% are managed by the city. So the first challenge faced by the DOT regards the installation of new streetlights, which is currently a reactive process. So as of today, new lights are only installed in 2 scenarios: when there is a new residential or commercial development, or when a citizen makes a request. So another challenge occurs during the maintenance process, with only 2 technicians handling maintenance of more than 10,000 lights every year. And then lastly, the final challenge lies in operations. So the DOT is having trouble understanding the current lighting conditions and electricity charges from Georgia Power, stemming from struggles in communication with this external stakeholder. So this is going to lead us to our project overview, which is on slide 8. So in order to recognize and prioritize areas in need of additional lighting, we started by creating a prioritization model. So this model uses a ranking methodology to assess neighborhoods and road segments based on key metrics. Second, we analyzed neighborhood clusters and evaluated different trade-offs based on equity and efficiency to determine a plan of action for the implementation of streetlights. This approach helps us achieve our project's goal, which is to maximize the impact of the DOT's investment to improve public safety. And now I'm going to pass it off to Jordy, and he's going to explain our prioritization model in more detail.
Is someone muted? We can't hear.
All right, I can continue. Okay. Continue with Jordy's start. All right, so yeah, on slide 9. So the first step in the prioritization model was to identify neighborhoods with the highest need for additional lighting based on 3 key metrics: crime rate, crash severity, and light coverage. So to calculate crime rate, we gathered a data set that had all the crimes that occurred within the city of Atlanta from 2017 all the way to 2020. So we were then able to calculate the yearly crime rate per 1,000 residents in each neighborhood. So next we calculated the crash metric. So each crash instance contains an attribute called EPDO, which stands for equivalent property damage only. This is a standard metric that's commonly used by the Federal Highway Administration, and it represents the societal cost of a crash in comparison to a no-injury crash. So this allows us to quantify crashes based on their severity. Using this attribute skewed our analysis to focus more on areas where we can observe high-severity crashes. The metric we utilized was average EPDO per mile of road. Then finally, to calculate lighting coverage, our team estimated the percentage of roads covered by street lighting in each neighborhood. And so once we had all these metrics calculated, the next step was to understand where there's a need for streetlights in the city. So to do this, we ranked our neighborhoods using the 3 metrics that I just explained. So if you see the heat map on the left of this next slide, slide 10, it helps visualize high priority neighborhoods based on the ranking index. So here we highlight the neighborhood Thomasville Heights in the map and include a zoomed in view to show the roads also shaded on their ranking index. So this is a neighborhood that, due to its high levels of crashes and crime and low levels of lighting, is a perfect candidate for the addition of new streetlights. Our team also created a citywide road ranking using these same metrics. So while our focus for priority was on the neighborhood level to facilitate the installation process, we also looked at individual road segments compared to the entire city. And we did this to be able to account for those that required urgent intervention regardless of what neighborhood they were in. So highlighted in the image on the right is one of the most problematic streets in Thomasville Heights, Thomasville Boulevard, which is ranked 162 of the 5,561 roads in the entire city. And these maps are going to be part of our final deliverables so the DOT can better visualize the ranking results. And now I want to pass it off to my teammate Andres, and he's going to cover the next part of our analysis.
Thank you, Isaac. As we move on to the second part of today's agenda, we will be discussing our Diagnostic Insights. So now on slide 12, we dive into our neighborhood analysis. We understand that the impact of additional lights is not the same for every neighborhood. So we decided to support our quantitative analysis with a qualitative analysis to better understand the characteristics of each neighborhood and how they would respond to additional lighting. To assess the impact of geodemographic and social factors on the possible benefit of increased lighting, we clustered the neighborhoods using the K-means clustering algorithm, and we based the clustering on similar characteristics, such as the percent of arterial roads, the percent of local roads, population density, geographic location, and median household income. So the figure on the right shows the 101 neighborhoods in the city grouped into 4 clusters. Some labels for the neighborhoods have been shifted left a little bit. We can take cluster 4 in green as an example, which is in the northern part of the city. It contains neighborhoods like Margaret Mitchell and Chastain Park, which are very residential areas
with low population densities and high median household incomes. So on this next slide, slide 13, you can see each cluster plotted based on our metrics. If you focus on cluster 4, you can see these wealthier residential areas tend to have relatively low lighting, but also low levels of crashes and crime. Cluster 3 pertains to the urban core and contains neighborhoods like Midtown and Buckhead. And what distinguishes these neighborhoods is that they have very high population densities. And while they do have higher levels of crashes and crime, they are also the best lit. So on the other hand, clusters 1 and 2, located in the south and western parts of the city, have moderate to high levels of crashes and crime and low levels of lighting. So now, Alyssa is going to discuss societal cost savings in slide 14.
Thank you, Andre. So with the clustered neighborhoods in mind, we're able to make projections for cluster 1, right? So the outer southwest of the city, and cluster 2, that inner ring. Our team built a forecasting model to determine how the addition of lighting would impact these clusters. The associated social benefit was calculated with the projections shown and the societal cost of crashes and crimes. We can see clusters 1 and 2 would benefit from additional lighting, whereas clusters 3 and 4 could increase their lighting, but our team could not conclude it resulting in a reduction of crimes and crashes. So on to the next slide. To make those projections, we had to figure out how many additional lights were actually needed. Here we have images of Thomasville Heights as an example. Seen in the image on the left is how we modeled the current streetlight system. The blue buffers represent the light coverage, and the dark lines represent the road not lit, so a dark spot, if you will. From this model, we were able to calculate where to add new streetlights to bring each road up to equitable levels of lighting, where the new lights are in dark green and the current lights are in yellow. And now to slide 16, where Willem can take it away.
Thank you, Alyssa. Moving on to the final part of the agenda, we will discuss the proposed path forward. Now, on slide number 17, we outline a recommendation, which consists in a three-phase approach, where there will be a focus on neighborhoods in the south and west part of Atlanta, which present the highest need, while at the same time addressing streets in every corner of the city that are also in need of lighting. On this slide, you can observe a map that pinpoints the locations of the recommended streetlights. In the next slide, we have our plan of action, which, as I said before, we decided to steer the ideal implementation of streetlights into three phases. Why did we decide on this three-phase approach? The main reason was to account for the possibility of not acquiring sufficient funding to complete the entirety of our recommendation. This approach gives the DOT the flexibility to pursue one, two, or all phases of our plan of action based on the additional funding. In phase 1, the top 30 neighborhoods in clusters 1 and 2 are being addressed, and the top 5% of road segments in the citywide rank. For phase 2, neighborhoods ranked 31 through 60 and the following 5% of roads in the citywide ranking are being prioritized. Finally, by the last phase, all neighborhoods in clusters 1 and 2 and the top 20% of road segments in the citywide ranking will be tackled. In the next slide, Gabriela will discuss phase 1 of the plan of action.
Thank you, Willem. This picture in slide 19 shows the roads that will be targeted during phase 1. This will be the most aggressive phase, improving conditions in 1,156 road segments in 84 neighborhoods. Circled in the image is Berkeley Park, Blandtown, and Hills Park, our #1 ranked neighborhood, where we recommend adding 233 lights in 68 road segments. On this next slide, slide 20, we can truly see the valuable impact that this project will bring to the city of Atlanta. By the end of the three phases, the DOT will be adding at least 7,000 new streetlights, improving road conditions in 3,145 road segments, and reaching all 101 neighborhoods. As is seen on the map, the majority of the neighborhood's address will be in clusters 1 and 2, which is the southwest of the city that has been historically underserved by the government. And at the same time, the DOT would not be forgetting about the other 2 clusters and addressing those roads that are in critical need of intervention regardless of the neighborhood that they are in. Moving on to the next slide, slide 21, let's talk about how much this project will cost. After running some numbers, the team estimates that the 3 phases of implementation will have a net present value cost of around $70 to $90 million in installation, maintenance, and operations over 15 years. As you can see in the table, these costs are broken down by phase, with phase 1 costing around $30 to $40 million, and phases 2 and 3 costing $20 to $25 million each. Now Monica will guide you through some examples of community value in the next slide.
Thank you, Gabriela. For the community, the value of our project really lies in improved quality of life. This can be a direct result of increased public safety or the result of an overall improvement of an area where commuters walk on to move around the city daily. I would like to guide you through a few examples of high priority areas that are going to be impacted by our recommendation, specifically in phase 1. Example 1 is presented here on slide 22. Ferguson was ranked number 3 in the neighborhood ranking for need of lighting. You can see on the figure on the left a road called Cleveland Avenue Southwest, which our ranking flagged as a street in great need of intervention. There are various instances of crashes and crime and only a small amount of scattered lighting. The image on the right is a Google Street View of Cleveland Avenue. You can see that the area is mixed use and commercial, meaning lots of pedestrians walking around. It is critical that these types of areas have proper lighting. Interestingly enough, this road specifically was already on the DOT's radar since it is part of the high injury network. Here on slide 23, we have Thomasville Heights, which was ranked number 5 in the neighborhood ranking for need of lighting. You can see on the figure on the left that there is a road above Thomasville Park that has a string of crash and crime instances right where there is a lack of street lighting. And the Google Street View of that same road shows a large street with skid marks, which indicates that the general improvement of the area could be a driving influence for a community uplift. On this next slide, slide 24, is another example of an area that will greatly benefit from our recommendation. Even though Old Fourth Ward is a neighborhood in Cluster 3 in the city core, our approach makes sure that the critical roads like Edgewood Avenue are addressed. The image on the left shows that there are a lot of crashes and crime on that road, even though on the right, we can see that there is some street lighting. By flagging this road, inspectors from the DOT will know to confirm the lights are working correctly and that indeed street lighting is not the principal issue in the area, rather something else. These 3 examples of areas that will be tackled in phase 1 show how the addition of streetlights would make a difference in the real world. Through the implementation of additional streetlights where needed, the people who move around the city of Atlanta will know that their city is taking care of them through the upkeep of public infrastructure, specifically streetlights. And that concludes our presentation. Our team will now be taking any questions or comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you all for your great presentation. If you could go back to your first screen where you list who you are. We're virtual right now. I want to see who I'm talking to as I thank you. If we could, I'm watching this on Facebook so that I can see the presentation and to see you. So if someone could put up, go back to the screen where the students' faces are and names. Commissioner Rowan and Deputy Commissioner Nagy, and to all of you students at Georgia Tech, I must say I really applaud your work. This is a phenomenal study, and it really sheds light on things that we kind of all have in our minds anecdotally. We all know that additional streetlights, that well-lit areas can help people in public safety from a crime perspective, surely a crash perspective, pedestrians, cyclists, people in wheelchairs, motorists. All more light means more safety, more opportunity for people to get to and from where they're going. And it also means that more lighting also means less crime, where individuals won't see the opportunity to take advantage of someone or to commit a crime. And more lighting also means that the areas where we will invest in cameras those cameras can actually see more of what's going on. So a couple of notes I took is, one, you did a citywide project. So this is the whole city. That's phenomenal. It's great that you guys went everywhere to look at everything that we asked you to look at. We know that this is a city of neighborhoods, so you dug down into the neighborhood clusters as well. So, but you looked at the entire city because this is a whole city issue and we need a city solution. The assumption was that we had a lot of dark spots in our city, a lot of spots that had street lights missing, and you discovered that in your analysis and your research. I really applaud you on that. I also applaud you on connecting this information with the high injury network. We've seen studies, this committee has seen studies about the high injury network maybe 18 months ago or 2 years ago, where we know there are corridors that have, something like 80% of the crashes that happen in this city, and those are along the high injury network. And I think your observations regarding street lighting has discovered that yet again, well-lit areas have less crashes, on average than those areas that are not covered as well with light. And then finally, you also looked at this from a Vision Zero. As we're doing Vision Zero, we're reducing speeds across the city. We're also looking at ways to re-engineer streets. And so all of this plays hand in hand. So, thank you all for what you've done. I'm a chemical engineering graduate of Georgia Tech. So when Josh Rowan, who's also a Tech alum, decided to bring you guys into this, I couldn't be happier to see Tech students contributing to the community that they live in. So thank you for that. Ms. Pulandini, I'll ask that if you could prepare a letter that the council could send to the students or to their instructors at Georgia Tech to say thank you. Maybe that'll help these students. I know that we grade on a curve. Maybe this will help them get an A in a class. If they're sitting at an 89, a good letter from the Atlanta City Council might help these folks. So just send a letter, just prepare a letter of thanks to Georgia Tech for participating in this well-needed community project. Crime reduction being a good point on this, I'd like to go to slide 22, and this is basically 22, 23, and 24 showing streets. The Cleveland Avenue street is of importance. All of them are of importance, but I want to see this slide brought back up. All over the city, we need more lights, we need more cameras, and I know each council member is going to speak to that. And your great work has shown us that you have a prioritization to how you did it. I even think that's great because it shows where the need is. This is a mixed use area and it's on the high injury network. So look at this, where you see these number of crashes that we've had on that street and crime and the few number of street lights. The community has asked for this, and finding a way to pay for it is what we're going to do based off this study. And slide 22, 23, 24 kind of show some of the areas that we have a need to support these communities to make sure we save more lives. So thank you all for that. And I want council members that may want to speak to please hit your speaker button so that you can share any thoughts you have about this study. Okay, I saw one just came in. So we'll let council members ask questions, and then I'll come back to you at the end, Commissioner Rowan or Deputy Commissioner Nagy, about a pathway that we've talked about, a pathway to pay for this. And if the time is right for you to reveal that, let's do it. If you're still working out numbers, just give us a general overview of how some of these or all of these street lights will be paid for. So the next speaker is Marcy Collier Overstreet.
Thank you, Chair Dickens. Yes, thank you, Georgia Tech, the whole team, for always leaning in. It just seems that the city is always asking of you to conduct a study, and you always deliver all of the details the way that we need it. And so thank you for this invaluable partnership between the city and Georgia Tech on a regular basis, always just helping and showing us the path forward and where we can do better and things that we're doing good. This particular presentation was very enlightening. Not so much about how lighting can, make a difference in quality of life, but just the way that you all actually went in every district throughout the streets, and I just found it to be very comprehensive. So thank you very much for your hard work that we'll be able to use to help our city. And this is, I have a question really for Commissioner Rowan and his team. Understanding that I have at least 3 streets that have been asking about lights now for, it's been several months. I'm hoping that we'll get some resolve there, especially in areas that, really may not be, that commercial corridor, but the people have really been experiencing accidents, and it is very dark there on one of our streets. And I'm just hoping that we don't have to wait until all of the funding is available. Like, we are, an advanced city. I know we can, chew gum and walk at the same time, so we don't have to wait until we get, pots and buckets of money, funding in order to address some of the issues. And I just want to make sure that we're not taking that stance, that some of these issues, especially the ones that, have been on the burner now for months and months, we want to make sure that we're not waiting for a complete solution before we start working on these, the tiny, small, low-hanging areas. So if someone can really ease my mind about that.
I can take that one, Councilman Overstreet. This is Josh Rowan again, Commissioner Atlanta DOT. You're exactly right. One of the challenges this team experienced was the ad hoc nature in which the city had installed lights through the years. So it was quite a monumental undertaking just to identify the locations of all the existing lights, because as they said, they were being installed either with new developments or with citizen requests. But now we have essentially the playbook to go forward, the 8,000 lights that have been identified, and we're actually already meeting with our partners to advance this plan. We believe we have a way forward that we can start really this year addressing the needs of the lighting and start jumping into these priority areas.
Marcy.
Oh, thank you. I was definitely speaking on mute. Yeah, so that's good news. I just want to make sure that we can meet to discuss these specific areas, correct?
That's correct. We have a little more engineering we need to do, but the wheels are in motion essentially to implement this plan as it's been laid out as a result of the evaluation.
Okay. Well, all right. So thanks again for the presentation, and look to hear from me in the near future about some specific areas that we've been speaking about. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Good. Thank you, Ms. Overstreet. While we have you here, Commissioner Rowan, you can share with us. This is about lights that are non-existent, not just lights, not lights that are there, but somehow a bulb was, a light bulb is out or it's flickering or anything of that nature. Correct?
That's correct. This is to identify areas that don't have light fixtures that need light fixtures. And I really want to give a shout out to Betty Smoot Madison on our team, our Vision Zero leader. She started scheduling site visits where we would go walk neighborhoods. And what was interesting was the things that we thought we were going to see weren't always the things that we saw. And more often than not, when we would walk various neighborhoods and look around, we would see, oh, where are the streetlights? And then we get a number of 311 requests saying that the lights don't work, when in reality there just aren't enough lights. And so this doesn't address the maintenance side of it. However, we are going to be working with Georgia Power to clean up the maintenance side and make it more consistent. So all of this will be happening concurrently.
Okay, great. We have a visitor on the line. He's not a real visitor. He's Councilmember Hillis. He's not on this committee, but he's on this committee today to discuss another item down in the legislative agenda, but he wants to speak now regarding streetlights. If you guys can unmute Councilmember Hillis. Mr. Hillis?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Dickens. I was on here to discuss always thoughts, but I caught the very tail end of this presentation, so it's of high interest to me, as I'm sure you know, Councilmember Dickens. So I just wanted to share, some of the stories. I woke up probably 2 or 3 years ago and saw the very sad news that one of my senior residents at the Manor of Scott's Crossing, which is on Jackson Parkway, which is a state route in my district, had been hit, a hit and run collision while she was walking down Jackson Parkway. So I went out that night, or the next night, and just did a streetlight audit of Jackson Parkway. And this kind of goes to your point, Councilmember Dickens, about not just where do we not have streetlights where we need them, but, I'm glad somebody addressed, because I'm, wary of adding more streetlights and then they just go out. So anyways, I did the streetlight audit just at Jackson Parkway, about a 1.5 mile strip in my district. And in that 1.5 miles, there were 27 streetlights that were out. And that's just not acceptable. Someone has to take on that responsibility, whether it's Georgia Power or the city. So we need to hammer that out, whose responsibility that's going to be. Now, to their credit, when I brought them up to Georgia Power, that I had tagged all those 27 poles that had down streetlights, inoperable streetlights, they were very responsive and got those up and running very quickly, and also trimmed some of the overgrowth that was around some of the streetlights. But can we hear just a little bit more about how we're going to address that? Whose responsibility is that going to be? Is that going to be on the city to have a team that goes out during the night and audits our streetlights, or how are we going to move forward with that?
Yes, sir, Councilmember Hillis. I can address that one without revealing too much as we go into the negotiations. We're actually looking at the model where, as it was revealed in the study, roughly 40,000 lights are leased from Georgia Power, 10,000 lights are owned by the city. Is that mix and match that I believe causes the confusion. So we have two options: either the city takes on 50,000 lights, or we enter into a maintenance agreement for Georgia Power to maintain the whole portfolio. We're leaning towards negotiating a maintenance agreement with Georgia Power to assume responsibility for all the streetlights and their maintenance.
Understood. And then some additional points, and I don't know if this was discussed. Like I said, I caught the tail end of the presentation, and certainly want to go back and review it. But just, streetlights to me, and I think most everyone, are safety issues. Yet, when we put in requests to the city for more streetlights, I think the initial timeline that we're given is, I believe, either 3 or 6 months to do some type of study. And then, I've requested streetlights on certain routes, and they're like, well, there's no present poles and electrical service on that section of the street, so we can't do streetlights there. So how are we going to look to improve, I guess, the process where there isn't streetlights and, we request streetlights to be installed? One, shortening that process drastically, hopefully. And then two, from most of my experience with requests, the, I guess, protocol or what's required is kind of geared towards most of the time saying, well, there's no streetlights needed here. I believe there's something in the city policy where every other street pole, every other electrical pole, but I mean, that's very arbitrary. I mean, some electrical poles are 50 feet apart, some are hundreds of feet apart. So if you could just speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, I'll go back a little bit. I think the thing to remember is we've created this portfolio of streetlights based on one-off requests, and it's not a sustainable model. So as we sit here today, 20% of Atlanta DOT's budget goes towards electricity. So out of a $50 million budget, roughly speaking, that's about $10 million. So as requests come in for streetlights, those are not funded. There's no budget for them. There's nothing that addresses the ongoing electrical charges and the maintenance. So in the past, what has happened has just been essentially based on who makes the most noise. And so by looking at this citywide evaluation, what we're looking at are the areas of risk. And we're going to get into those 8,000 lights that have been recommended and work with our service provider to develop a plan to be installing those lights. And so we want to get away from these one-offs and look at this as more of a programmatic citywide initiative that's addressing the risk. Will every pole in the city have a street light? It certainly will not, but we're looking at a situation where we probably have requests for a couple hundred lights, and now we're talking about 8,000. So I think the difference is going to be significant when you look at a 20% increase in the lighting coverage of the city, and it's really in areas that need it the most. And so this is a significant thing. How we change requests going forward, I think we're going to have to address, because once we install the 8,000, that's pretty much going to do it from a financial perspective for quite some time. You heard the present. You may not have heard it, Councilmember. There was a present value calculation for what it's going to cost to install and maintain this over 15 years, and it's rather substantial. But that's the path we want to go down, is address these areas of need and to implement these 8,000 lights.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Owen. Thank you, Chairman Dickens, for giving me the opportunity to speak, and much thanks to Georgia Tech and the students who took on this very important study. That, like I said, I'm going to go back and review it thoroughly. So thank you again.
Great, thank you. Are there any other council members that want to speak? If not, Mr. Rowan, thank you. And thank you to the Georgia Tech students once again. And we will, continue to move forward with the plans that you and the commissioner and the deputy commissioner have put forward as we try to improve safety for our citizens all across Atlanta. We'll be sure to share this, Mr. Rowan, with all of the members of the city council. Everyone doesn't have the great fortune of being on the world's most wonderful transportation committee, so they all will have to get it in an email, your presentation, but please share that with everyone so that they can see it. And then I think it'll be good to start scheduling meetings related to how we plan to pay for these street lights. And I know it's going to take some conversations with Georgia Power about our 10,000 lights and their 40,000 lights, and how we still add these, roughly 8,000 or more lights. And then the prioritization of going about rolling this out is also, it may take some additional funding and some relationships, but we see our pathway forward. So let's get to work on it. Thank you for that. I'd like to move on to our next agenda item, Ms. Pulandini. Let's go on to our consent agenda, ordinances for first read.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Item number 1, 21-0-0220, an ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or her designee to enter into trail easement and maintenance agreement for the Metropolitan Atlanta Rapid Transit Authority for the purpose of construction and maintenance of a trail system connecting with the Path 400 Trail in connection with the East Paces Ferry Complete Streets project, authorizing the mayor or her designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to execute all documents necessary to complete the trail easement and maintenance agreement with MARTA and for other purposes. Item number 2, 21-0-0221, an ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or her designee on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to accept funding from the Georgia Department of Transportation for the Central Avenue Bridge Replacement Project, PI number PI0015295, to amend the fiscal year 2021 budget by adding to anticipations and appropriations in an amount not to exceed $6,896,000.00, to authorize the mayor or her designee to enter into agreements with the Georgia Department of Transportation for implementation of grant acceptance and participation and for other purposes. And item number 3, 21-0222, an ordinance for Transportation Committee to ratify and extend on a month-to-month basis, not to exceed 8 months, the Technical Operations Center and Central Terminal Support Area Lease Agreement between Delta Airlines and the City of Atlanta, located at Hartsville-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, through December 31, 2021, in accordance with Section 2-1163 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances and for other purposes. And if there's no objection, we can move on to the regular agenda. Items 4 and 5. Okay. Items 4 and 5 are ordinances which amend various airport budgets. Would the committee like to take these two as a block?
Absolutely.
Okay. Item number 4, 21-0-0192, an ordinance by Transportation Committee to amend the FY 2021 Airport Passenger Facility Charge Fund and Aviation Encumbrance Program budgets by transferring to and from appropriations a total amount of $10,971,157.00 for reimbursement of the Aviation Encumbrance Fund program and for other purposes. And item number 5, 21-0-0193, an ordinance by Transportation Committee amending the FY 2021 Airport Passenger Facility Charge Fund budget by transferring to and from appropriations the amount of $40 million to provide funding for various projects at Hartsville-Jackson Atlanta International Airport and for other purposes.
All right. Do we have Interim General Manager B on the line?
This is Balaram B. Diodari, Interim Airport General Manager. First and foremost, a couple of quick statements. I would like to express my deepest appreciation and thanks to our Mayor Keisha Lansbottom, for appointing me to this position as Interim General Manager, and of course for her confidence in the team here at the airport. We will continue with our goal of excellence in service delivery, and myself and the team at the airport is looking forward to working with this esteemed body so that we could accomplish our priorities as set. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. These two papers simply reimbursing interim funding for a number of different projects.
All right, thank you. I actually also wanted to congratulate you and to thank you, congratulate you as our new interim general manager, but also thank you for your, long-standing leadership and commitment to the city of Atlanta and Hartsville Jackson Atlanta International Airport. You've always been phenomenal, always been accessible, always been, a great leader in the aviation community. So I'm glad that you were chosen and support that decision. And you and I have already spoken a number of times since then and before then. So I appreciate your accessibility as always. Thank you, Interim General Manager Biadora. I make a motion to approve both papers. Is there a second?
Second, Brown.
All right.
My system went down. Overstreet, affirmative.
Okay.
Ditto for Massachite, affirmative.
All right, Mr. Massachite and Mrs. Overstreet are affirmative.
Will everyone please vote?
Mrs. Ide, are you still on? Okay, Ms. Ide. All right, let's mark her away on that vote.
The vote is closed.
I'm here. I don't know if I can't vote online, but I mean, yes.
Okay.
One moment, please. And the vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
For the public, just so you know, today we started today with some technical difficulties. Members couldn't get on and voting was off. So bear with us as we go through this process of trying to stay on, because I've already been off once and had to get back on. So bear with each member through this process. All right, continue, Ms. Pulandini.
Item number 6, 21-0-0194, an ordinance by Transportation Committee to authorize the mayor or designee in accordance with Section 2-1163, Article 10, Procurement and Real Estate Code of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances to ratify contract SC 10171 for the Childress Drive over South Detroit Creek Bridge replacement project with Hewitt Infrastructure South Pro, and to authorize the Chief Financial Officer on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to pay all outstanding invoices in an amount not to exceed $126,730.13. All invoices to be charged to and paid from the various fund, department, organization, and account numbers, and for the purposes.
All right, Mr. Rowan or Courtney Hunt.
I'll take this one, Mr. Chairman. Josh Rowan, Atlanta Department of Transportation. This is simply just closing out the Childress Bridge project. There were some outstanding invoices, and we had to extend the contract date to make sure those got paid. And so this is all part of the true up with the contractor.
Okay.
We recommend approval.
Ms. Overstreet, you want to make the motion? This is your bridge in your district.
Absolutely. Move approval.
All right, I'll second it.
The vote is open.
All right, those that are going to be voting by voice, Ms. Ide?
Yeah.
All right, good, thank you.
The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable, and this item should now be referred to the Finance Executive Committee due to the payment of outstanding invoices.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to refer to FEC?
Yes.
Is there a second?
Yes.
Second, Brown.
Is there a second? Okay, we got a second by Mr. Brown. Let's prepare the vote to refer to FEC.
The vote is open.
All right, those that are voice voting, let me know.
Overstreet, affirmative.
Aye, yes.
Okay.
And the vote is closed. 6 days notice. This item will be referred.
Ms. Polendini, can I, we have Mr. Hillis on the line, and he didn't ask me this, but I want to go ahead on and get his papers knocked out now, which will be 12 and 13. So that way he can, I think it's 12 and 13, or is it 13 and 14? It should be the Ellsworth, and there's a hub.
Yes, they're items number 12 and 13. I will take item number 12 first. 21-0-0205, an ordinance by Councilmember Dustin Hillis authorizing the mayor or her designee to make the intersection of Elaine Avenue Northwest and Ellsworth Industrial Boulevard Northwest an always stop controlled intersection, to authorize the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection and for other purposes.
Take them both if you can. Or can we take both back to back?
The department has requested that number 13 be held.
Oh, okay. So let's go with 12 while we're here. Mr. Hillis?
Yes, thank you. That is not my understanding from Commissioner Owen.
So let's go ahead on and do 12, and then we'll hear about 13, whatever.
Yeah, so 12, this is an always stop at Elaine and Ellsworth. This is actually going to be part of a bigger project that the Upper West Side CID is undertaking, but the temporary solution is going to be District 9's first, I guess you would say, tactical urbanism project. We're going to bring in concrete barriers to close the 2 slip lanes and make this a 90-degree intersection. There's also a sidewalk gap of about 400 feet, so this is going to help. It's going to give people a safe way to walk from the southern part of this to some new destinations on the north, including Bacchanalia's new location, Topgolf, the Works. This is going to be an interim solution. The always stop will be a permanent solution, but there will be a tactical urbanism project for an interim solution until the Upper West Side CID can secure funding to totally reconfigure this intersection and include a bios well that we'll be working with Watershed for. So I'll just ask for my colleagues' support on this paper.
Move approval. Okay. We got a motion by Westmoreland. I will second it.
The vote is open.
Overstreet, affirmative.
Thank you, Ms. Overstreet.
The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 13, 21-0-0206, an ordinance by Councilmember Dustin Hillis authorizing the mayor or her designee to make the intersection of Huff Road Northwest and Ellsworth Industrial Boulevard Northwest an always stop controlled intersection, to authorize the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection and for other purposes.
All right, sorry, Mr. Hillis.
Yes, thank you, Chairperson Dickens. Also asking for approval. This one, like I said, it's not my understanding that this should be held. In my conversation with Commissioner Owen, this is actually a warranted always stop due to some significant crash data at this intersection, as well as issues with sight distance, and this has been documented in a traffic study that the Upper West Side CID undertook. So just ask for my colleagues' support on this one as well. Thank you.
Move approval. All right, second by Dickens.
Overstreet, affirmative.
The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hill. If you don't have any other papers here, right?
I do not. Thank you all so much. Take care.
All right, thank you. All right, Ms. Pulanini.
Okay, going back to item number 7, 21-0-0195, an ordinance by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to execute all appropriate documents to grant a utility easement across the real property known as 0 Sizemore Avenue, Northwest Atlanta, land lot 247 of the 17th District of Fulton County, Georgia, to the Georgia Power Company for the purpose of installing underground power distribution facilities, waiving any conflicting provisions of Article 10, Division 14, Subdivision 3, Sections 2-1571, 2-1572, and 2-1574 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances and for other purposes. And there's a substitute in your packet which adds the dollar amount of $8,500 and the funding stream.
Okay, let's hear from the Department of Transportation.
Good morning. This is Rita Ranswell with the Department of Public Works. This is actually a Department of Public Works paper.
Oh, okay.
Good morning.
Sorry about that.
The purpose of this legislation is to authorize a 10-foot wide utility easement to Georgia Power to install underground power distribution facilities on property at 0 Sizemore Avenue. This property abuts property owned by Department of Solid Waste Services and is across from the city-owned landfill. Representatives from DPW and Georgia Power met at the location and discussed the project, and the proposed easement was reviewed by the Department of Enterprise Asset Management and found to be acceptable and beneficial to the city. As noted, the city will receive $8,500 for the easement, and the substitute identifies the FDOA into which it will be deposited.
Okay, good. Thank you. So, sorry, I thought it was Department of Transportation, but yes, it is DPW. Thank you, Ms. Braswell. So first, we need to do a substitute. So make a motion to bring forward the substitute. Is there a second?
Second, Brown.
Okay.
The vote is open.
Overstreet affirmative.
The vote is closed. 68 0 nays. This item has been substituted.
So now make a motion to approve on substitute. Is there a second?
Second, Brown.
Overstreet affirmative.
Vote is closed. 68 0 nays. This item is favorable on substitute and should now be referred to the Finance Executive Committee due to waivers of the procurement code.
So we have okay. So now, thanks, Matt. Second, Dickens.
The vote is open.
Ms. Overstreet.
Overstreet affirmative.
The vote is closed. 68 0 nays. This item will be referred. Our next item is number 8. 21-0-0198, an ordinance by Councilmember Antonio Brown authorizing the mayor or designee to waive section 138-84D of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances and to install speed tables on Tiger Flowers Drive Northwest between Anderson Avenue Northwest and Carver Drive Northwest and for other purposes.
All right, Ms. Alexander.
Katrina Alexander, Atlanta Department of Transportation. The ordinance would waive Section 138-84D, which governs the installation of speed tables. We have studied Tiger Flower Drive between Anderson and Carver, and it did meet the speed and volume requirements. The petition requester is having a hard time obtaining the 75% of signatures from the abutting property owners, and so this legislation would waive the signature requirement. We are okay with moving this legislation forward.
Motion to approve. Okay. Dickens, second.
The vote is open.
Overstreet affirmative.
The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Items 9 and 10 are papers to make intersections always stop controlled intersections. Would the committee like to take these as a block?
Yes.
Yeah, item number 9, 21-0-0199. An ordinance by Councilmember Madeline M. Archibong authorizing the mayor, her designee, to make the southern intersection of Blake Avenue Southeast and Van Vleck Avenue Southeast an always stop controlled intersection, to authorize the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection and for the purposes. And item number 10, 21-0-0200, an ordinance by Councilmember Madeline M. Archibong authorizing the mayor, her designee, to make the intersection of Kirkwood Road Northeast and Delano Drive Northeast an always stop controlled intersection, to authorize the Atlanta Department of Transportation to install stop signs at the intersection and for the purposes.
Katrina Alexander, Atlanta Transportation. We have studied both Blake Avenue and Van Vleck, as well as Kirkwood and Delano. All of those streets have a posted speed limit of 25 miles per hour. The streets both have limited sight distance issues for the stop streets, and so we have studied those streets and recommend moving forward with the installation of always stop.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second, Brown.
Affirmative. Overstreet.
The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. These items are favorable. Our next item is number 11, 21-0-0204, an ordinance by Councilmember J.P. Matsakite waiving the sidewalk requirements of Section 15-09.003 of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances for subdivision application SD-20-003 to provide that in lieu of constructing the required sidewalks at the subdivision site, the developer of the subdivision shall construct approximately 944 linear feet of sidewalk along the west side of Northside Drive Northwest, starting at the northwestern intersection of West Conway Drive Northwest and proceeding north and for the purposes.
Motion to approve, Matsakite.
Second, Brown. Second, Dickens.
Overstreet affirmative.
Vote is open. Vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Our next item is number 14, 21-0-0207, an ordinance by Councilmembers Madeline M. Archibong and Amira Afroki authorizing the temporary closure of Edgewood Avenue Northeast and Southeast between Boulevard Northeast and Jackson Street Northeast to automobiles as defined by this ordinance on Friday and Saturday nights to improve pedestrian mobility and public safety for the businesses and residents of the area, authorizing the use of barriers to prevent automobile through traffic, waiving the provisions of City Code Section 142-85 requiring street and sidewalk closure permits, and for the purposes.
All right, who's going to speak to this one this time?
Mr. Chairman, this is Josh Rowan, Commissioner, Atlanta Department of Transportation. We will ask that this item be held. The in and out nature of the closure I don't believe that we can install the closure and take it out twice in a weekend according to the time as defined. I also believe it will create quite a safety hazard for our crews to be moving barricades in the middle of the street during the activities on Fridays and Saturday nights. There's more logistical work that needs to be put into this to plan this out.
Okay. I'll make a motion to hold. Is there a second?
Second, Overstreet.
The vote is open. Vote is closed. 68 0 nays. This item will be held. Our next item is number 15, 21-R-3306, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or her designee on behalf of the City of Atlanta to execute an encroachment agreement with Emory University doing business as Emory University Hospital, Midtown, for the purpose of the installation of a permanent enclosed two-level pedestrian bridge to connect Emory University Hospital, Midtown with the new Emory Cancer Center building at 18 feet above Linden Avenue Northeast, right of way at 550 Peachtree Street Northeast, Atlanta, Georgia 30308, and for the purposes.
Cotina Alexander, Atlanta Department of Transportation. The purpose of this legislation is to grant Emory University Hospital or Emory University Hospital Midtown an encroachment agreement to install a pedestrian bridge between their new cancer treatment center and the existing hospital. We have reviewed the plans and recommend moving the legislation forward.
Move approval.
Second, Brown.
The vote is open.
Overstreet, affirmative.
Vote is closed. 68 0 nays. This item is favorable. Items 16 and 17 are similar contracts for the Atlanta Department of Transportation. Would the committee like to take these two as a block?
Yes.
Item number 16, 21-R-3307, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or designee to exercise renewal number 1 for FC 9662, Transportation and Infrastructure Construction Services Small, with Astra Group, Inc., Brassfield and Gorey, LLC, C.W. Matthews Contracting Company, Inc., E.R. Snell Contractor, Inc., Pittman Construction Company, Precision 2000, Inc., and Stewart Brothers, Inc., for a term of 1 year effective May 4th, 2021 through May 3rd, 2022, on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation for the purpose of providing transportation and infrastructure construction services and for the purposes. And item number 17, 21-R-3308, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizes the mayor who designates to execute renewal option number 1 for contract FC 9661, Transportation and Infrastructure Construction Services Large, with contractors Astra Group, Inc., Brassfield and Gorey, LLC, C.W. Matthews Contracting Company, Inc., E.R. Snell Contractor, Inc., Pittman Construction Company, on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation for a term of 1 year beginning May 2, 2021 through May 1, 2022, with no additional funding required and for other purposes.
All right. Is this Josh or?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. I'll take these two together. So this is what we commonly refer to as RFQC. It's two separate contracts with a pool of pre-qualified contractors. We want to keep all of our contracting options open, so we're asking for this renewal option number 1 to be approved for each one.
Okay, and let's see. All right, I make a motion to approve on both. Is there a second?
Second, Brown.
The vote is open.
Overstreet, affirmative.
The vote is closed. 68 0 nays. These items are favorable. Items number
I wanted to pause for a second, Ms. Pillandini. Mr. Rowan, while we are going to do a 1 year, allow them within their 1 year period, of extension. Are we going back out to bid at this time for new construction services? Is that what's coming up soon?
So this is essentially a pre-qualified group of contractors that bid against each other for specific contracts. What we're learning is it works well with specific project types and it fails miserably with others. So for our larger complete streets, we're actually opting to do those as open public bids where all are welcome to come bid. And this, again, as I said, this is just a tool that we have in the toolbox, and we wanted to keep it active.
I got you. So we'll go back out to bid for like Cascade Complete Street or DeKalb Ave or Howell Mill. Those will be individual bidded out projects.
Yes, sir. In fact, DeKalb Avenue bids have been received, and the procurement department's evaluating the results there. We gave a 2-week extension on Cascade due to a large number of technical questions, but both were actually open public bids. We backed away from these contract vehicles for each of those projects.
Good. Okay. Makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, so I just heard one thing that caught my ear. You said that you gave a 2-week contract extension. A bid
yes, ma'am. We gave a 2-week. We gave a 2-week bid extension so that the prospective bidders would have time to process the answers we provided and work with their subs to provide pricing. So bids are due next week.
Okay. Okay. You know what? I'm going to talk to you about that during our meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Good deal. Ms. Tolentini?
Okay, items number 18 and 19 are both project management agreements. On behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation, would the committee like to take these two as a block?
Yes.
Okay, item number 18, 21-R-3309, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or designee to enter into a project management agreement with the City of Atlanta and the Atlanta Regional Commission and Georgia Department of Transportation to complete a scoping study to assess the cost and feasibility for roadway improvements for CI 0017803, Fulton County, CS16, CS3498, Marietta Boulevard from CS13, Coronet Way to SR8 on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation and for other purposes. And item number 19, 21-R-3310, a resolution by the Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or designee on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to execute a project management agreement with the PATH Foundation, a Georgia nonprofit corporation, for several segments of the PATH 400 Trail between Peachtree Road and Garson Drive, to include the Peachtree Park and Adena Phase 1 and Gordon Bynum to Miami Circle phases of the PATH 400 Trail, and to execute any required agreements for project participation and implementation in an amount not to exceed $1,016,176.37. All contracted work to be charged to and paid from the fund department, organization, and account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
All right. Is this also Mr. Rowan?
Mr. Chair, I will take both of these. I'm going to provide a little more detail on item 18 because we're excited about this one. This is actually the first phases of us entering the federal process for Marietta Boulevard, and as many know, it's a major north-south arterial road, and it has a bit of a double challenge. The pavement's in poor condition, and there's pretty extensive speeding within this corridor, and so the scoping study enables us to look at the section of roadway from Donnelly Hallwell Parkway to Coronet Way. So that encompasses both Councilmember Hillis and Councilmember Brown's district. I will, if I can take a moment of personal privilege, I will share that Councilmember Hillis told me he now refers to this as the Oregon Trail. And so we're excited to be looking at getting money to do a scoping study. So $1 million project, $800,000 in federal funds, $200,000 from the general fund. This enables us to receive those funds, and this really launches the process to be pursuing federal funds to improve this corridor. We believe that with a a proper scope that will be competitive and pursuing infrastructure dollars on a go-forward basis. So we're excited about that one. And then on item 19, the description as read was spot on. This is a project management agreement with Path Foundation, a wonderful partner of ours to advance Path 400 Trail, which is one of our Renew T-Sloss projects. So we highly recommend approval for both.
All right, motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second, Brown.
The vote is open. Will everyone please vote?
Overstreet affirmative.
The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. These items are favorable. Items 20 and 21 are both MOUs with the Midtown Business Association on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation. Would the committee like to take these two as a block?
Yes, please.
Okay, item number 20. 21-R-3311, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or her designee to enter into a memorandum of understanding agreement with the Midtown Business Association doing business as Midtown Alliance on behalf of the Department of Transportation for the purpose of granting a permit to the Midtown Alliance, its employees, contractors, and representatives to have certain rights to the property described herein for the purposes of landscape maintenance for the Midtown Art Walk project within the city's right-of-way and for the purposes. And item number 21, 21-R-3312, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or her designee to enter into a memorandum of understanding agreement with the Midtown Business Association doing business as Midtown Alliance on behalf of the Department of Transportation for the purpose of granting a permit to the Midtown Alliance, its employees, contractors, and representatives to have certain rights to the property described herein for the purpose of landscape maintenance and for commercial commons road projects within the city's right-of-way and for the purposes.
All right, Mr. Rowan.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. These are, I'll go ahead and take these. These are just maintenance agreements on two projects that our partner at Midtown Alliance is implementing. So standard fare, but they're doing work within our right-of-ways, streetscape improvements, and we require that they maintain those projects.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve by any Midtown person over there?
Yes,
well, I'll make it.
but
Miss I did the motion, and I will second it.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Our next item is number 22, 21-R-3313, a resolution by Transportation Committee supplementing a joint task order fund in an amount not to exceed $10 million for use under 4 architectural and engineering design services contracts for project number FC9938, HKSFC-SW joint venture, Corgan Good Van Slyke Architecture joint venture, Aviation Infrastructure Solutions joint venture, ATL Aviation Consulting joint venture for services at Hartsville Jackson Atlanta International Airport. All services will be charged to and paid from account numbers listed herein and for the purposes.
Good morning, Mr.
All right, Interim Manager Biador.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Chair and Council Member again, B.B. Adari, Interim General Manager. We're requesting approval to add $10 million to our joint task order fund, which will issue a design task order to commence with airfield and central passenger terminal complex work this fiscal year. Some of those work will include pavement replacement, security fence enhancement, air conditioning system in the building, electrical distribution system in the building, and so on.
Okay. Motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second, Brown.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 68-0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 23, 21-R-3314, a resolution by Transportation Committee to amend Resolution 20-R-4000, adopted by the Atlanta City Council on June 1, 2020, and approved by operation of law per City Charter Section 2-403 on June 10, 2020. Authorizing the mayor or designee to execute renewal option number 1 for FC 7105 parking operation management services with ABM Lanier Hunt Atlanta Airport Parking at Hartsville Jackson Atlanta International Airport for the purpose of correcting the effective date and expiration date of the initial term and the term for renewal option number 1 under FC 7105 as referenced in Resolution 20-R-4000 and for other purposes.
This is very simple. What we're asking for is to change the date to reflect the accurate date when we transition this contract. We transitioned the contract on May the 17th of 2017, when it should actually have been May the 12th of 2017 for the initial 3-year term, and also the execution of the first renewal option. So we just need to move the date back instead of May the 17th back to May the 12th.
Okay, motion to approve.
Second, Brown.
The vote is open. Vote is closed. 68-0 nays. This item is favorable. Our next item is number 24, 21-R-3315, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or designee to exercise renewal option number 2 for SC 7105 parking operation management services with ABM Lanier Hunt Atlanta Airport Parking at Hartsville Jackson Atlanta International Airport in an amount not to exceed $438,337.00 and to reduce the commercial automobile insurance policy requirements. All contracted services will be charged to and paid from account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
So there are two elements to what we are asking for approval here. First, to exercise our final renewal option, a 1-year renewal option. And while we are in this final renewal option, we plan on going out with a new solicitation. The second element in this is to reduce the insurance from $10 million to $3 million. Our requirement is $10 million if you're driving inside the security fence on the airfield. And since the operator will not be driving inside the fence, but strictly on what we term the landside facility, we're asking to reduce the insurance from $10 million to $3 million, and it will be a significant savings for the Department of Aviation in the tune of somewhere approximately $500,000 for the renewal option.
All right, motion to approve.
Second, Brown.
The vote is open. Vote is closed. 68-0 nays. This item is favorable. Our next item is number 25, 21-R-3316, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or designee to execute an expedited enforcement compliance order with the Environmental Protection Division, Department of Natural Resources of the state of Georgia, and to authorize payment pursuant to the expedited enforcement compliance order in the amount of $22,914 to resolve unpermitted discharges at Hartsville Jackson Atlanta International Airport from January 2010 through December 2020 and for other purposes.
Okay, this is a little bit complex. We have sanitary sewer lines starting on the north side of the airport all the way down to the south side, a number of sanitary sewer lines that traverse the airport that flow to several treatment plants. A number of these sanitary sewer lines that are on airport property, we are responsible for the operation and maintenance of those lines because those lines are, for the most part, are not gravity fit. And so as a result, we the airport, as we move forward with airport development, had to install what we call lift station to pump the sewer upstream. We have I think about 14 of those lift stations here at the airport. And over the last 10 years, we experienced a number of spills due to three reasons. Number one is vandalism on those couple of those lift stations. We had one where the thief were so brazen they ripped off the entire system copper wire that was attached to high voltage electricity. And secondly, we had a number of power failure that knocked the lift stations out of commission. The second reason for failure was due to equipment failure. We have a line over a mile long that was installed just less than 14 years. The life expectancy should have been about 40 years, and the system failed on us. Because of the high acidity level of the discharge that was flowing through those lines, and it caused a catastrophic failure. And the third was environmental condition. Because of a lot of rain, it overwhelmed the system. Since then, the Department of Aviation have a very strong stewardship in protecting our environment. And the minute a spill was reported, we took proactive action. Number one, to contain the spill, and number two, to do the index analysis to ensure that the spill does not occur again. Over the last few years, we have taken a number of initiatives. We have contracted and have a specialized operation and maintenance firm under contract to maintain these lift stations for us. We have implement technology that will give us early warning if a system is about to fail or there is an issue with the system, so we could respond immediately and take that corrective action. And number three, we have a dedicated team on hand, and their sole job is to make sure that the environment is taken care of, that our system are all in perfect working condition. Because we have self-reported all of these spills to the EPA took that into consideration and bundled all of the spills up and submit to us in writing this letter of fine and compliance, which we thought was very generous on their behalf, in that they look at our plan, they look at what we have implemented, and instead of penalizing us more severely, they are in full agreement of what we have done and our plan going forward to protect the environment. And so we're requesting approval to pay this fine of $22,914 to the EPA.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. There's a member that wants to speak. Mr. Masakai.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is, to what extent is there coordination or responsibility with Department of Watershed Management on this?
So when we had the catastrophic failure in 2014, Department of Watershed Management partnered with us and provided us extreme high support in terms of technical knowledge and technical advisory of what we need to do and the methodology we need to use in repairing the system and the type of material that we need to use. And we have ever since been in very, very close coordination for advice with our sister unit, Department of Watershed Management.
Just out of curiosity, why don't they have responsibility for this? Why is there duplication?
We have been in discussion with the previous commissioner, and as a matter of fact, I spoke to commissioner just a couple of months back, the current commissioner, and in the coming months, we're going to advance this dialogue and try to undo some of the responsibility and move that, share that responsibility. Of course, we'll pay our costs for that responsibility to shift it to someone else. But right now, we are responsible, and we are in discussion with watershed management to provide the technical expertise and maybe look at a different venue of how we could better take care of the system.
Yeah, I would think that would be, there could be some efficiencies, and they obviously are experts at this. And so I would encourage you to have those discussions. I don't really understand why the Department of Watershed Management wouldn't be responsible for this. And, you know, it certainly isn't a core function to the airport. And they are experts and obviously provide lots of services to residents throughout the metro area. So just encourage you to have those discussions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mazzacai, for that. That's very insightful. I'm glad you raised that. And actually, that makes a whole lot of sense. And thank you, Beador, for starting that conversation. And hopefully it leads to more efficiency. All right, so I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 68 0 This item is favorable. Our next item is number 26, 21-R-3317, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor and her designee to exercise the renewal for FC 9842, Plane Train Tunnel West Extension Phase 1 and 2, Automated People Mover System with Bombardier Transportation Holdings USA, Inc. at Hartsville-Jackson Atlanta International Airport on behalf of the Department of Aviation for a term of 2 years and for other purposes.
This is a 3-year contract with Bombardier with a 2-year renewal option, and we are asking for approval to exercise the renewal option. We will be coming back to this body for funding for this renewal option, and currently Bombardier is working on our running surface to extend the existing plane train system along the integration of technology to match that of the existing system when we add the new extension phase.
All right, I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second, Brown.
The vote is open. Vote is closed. 68 0 This item is favorable. Our next item is number 27, 21-R-3318, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or her designee to execute 4 reimbursable agreements for agreement FC 5210 vending concession services with Coca-Cola Bottling Company United East LLC, FC 5215 business and entertainment concessions with Business Traveler Services Inc., FC 600-600-7935, Georgia Lottery Corporation concessions with Georgia Lottery Corporation, and FC 8088 concessions lease agreement with Game Lounge and Sky Gamers Atlanta JV for construction costs associated with the relocation of the Concourse T lease premises at Hartsville-Jackson Atlanta International Airport due to the South Security Checkpoint expansion and an amount not to exceed $921,000.00. All funds to be charged to and paid from the account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
This is the reimbursed concessionaires that we have to displace due to the construction of the expanded South Security Checkpoint. We have contemplated this when we started design, and now that the work is done and those concessionaires have been displaced, we need to go ahead and reimburse them for the costs associated with that. And so we're asking approval to reimburse these concessionaires in the tune not to exceed $921,000.
Move approval.
Second, Brown.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. Item number 28, 21-R-3319, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or designee to execute an agreement for ISC-C-1210199, Taxiway 5 bypass at Hartsville Jackson Atlanta International Airport, with Stewart Infrastructure South Pro on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Aviation in an amount not to exceed $9,690,659.00. All contracted work will be charged to and paid from accounts listed herein and for other purposes. There is an amendment in your packet which attaches the IPRO report.
So the IPRO review was completed, and there was no response from the Department of Aviation or from the CPO's office. This is to put money in place. This was a competitively bid project to put money in place to realign taxiway vectors so it could we have a better operational efficiency when the 5 new gates are completed on T North extension, and also add much more safer operation moving in and out of ramp 1.
All right, I make a motion to amend to attach the IPRO report. Is there a second?
Second, Brown.
The vote is open. Vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item has been amended.
All right, now I make a motion to approve as amended.
Second, Brown.
Vote is open.
Ms. Ide, can you see or hear?
Vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable as amended. Our next item is number 29, 21-R-3320, a resolution by Transportation Committee authorizing the mayor or designee to execute an agreement for ISC-C-1210153, runway 10 glide scope and safety area improvements at Hartsville Jackson Atlanta International Airport with C.W. Matthews Contracting Co. Inc. on behalf of the Department of Aviation at Hartsville Jackson Atlanta International Airport in an amount not to exceed $5,892,988.00. All services will be charged to and paid from funds listed herein and for other purposes.
Mr. Chair, I'm requesting to hold this paper. It's still under review by me.
All right, motion to hold. Is there a second?
Second, Brown.
The vote is open. Vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item will be held. Our next item is number 30, 21-R-3321, a resolution by Transportation Committee to fund the West Curve Improvement Project component for project number XC-9277, Plane Train Tunnel West Extension, Phase 1, Progressive Design Build at Hartsville Jackson Atlanta International Airport with Clark Atkinson Technique, a joint venture for partial funding of enabling work in an amount not to exceed $2.5 million and 0 cents. With construction services, all contracted work will be charged to and paid from account numbers listed herein and for other purposes.
This project has encountered a number of unforeseen conditions. For example, a portion of I-85 pavement was left behind when the freeway was relocated to make way for the construction of the domestic terminal. What's interesting when we were looking at that, we had to relocate storm drains, AT&T lines, and a number of other unforeseen conditions that we ran into. And this money is put in place to support and pay for those unforeseen conditions.
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
Just to confirm, was that Councilmember Brown seconding this motion?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. One moment, please. The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. We have a couple additional items to take up still. The first one is item number 31 on the held agenda, 20-0-1280, an ordinance by Councilmember Joyce M. Shepherd authorizing the mayor or designee to waive Section 138-84D of the City of Atlanta Code of Ordinances to install speed tables on Conley Road between Jonesboro Road and the city limits at the Clayton County line, and to repaint stripes on this portion of Conley Road and for those purposes. There's an amendment in your packet which replaces references to the city limits with Forest Park Road. I'm sorry, there's a substitute in your packet.
Okay, I have it as an amendment, but it's a substitute?
Yes, Mr. Chair, it's a substitute.
All right, motion to bring forward the substitute. Is there a second?
Second, Brown.
All right, let's prepare that vote.
The vote is open. Sorry, one moment, please. The vote is open now. Vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item has been substituted.
Okay, either Mr. Rowan or Ms. Alexander.
Cotina Alexander, Atlanta Department of Transportation. The legislation proposes to install traffic calming measures on Conley Road between Jonesboro Road and Forest Park Road. The segment of street has been studied and revealed that the street does meet the minimum requirements for traffic calming installation. The issue has been of the petition requirement, and so this waives that requirement. The department is in favor of moving the legislation forward.
All right, motion to approve on substitute. Is there a second?
Second.
Let's vote.
The vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable on substitute. Our next item is a referral from the Community Development Services Committee, and this legislation was in your packet. It is Resolution 21-R-3416, a resolution by Community Development Human Services Committee authorizing the mayor or designee to execute an amendment to the project management agreement with Midtown Business Association, Inc., doing business as Midtown Alliance for the Juniper Street Bicycle Pedestrian Facilities Project on behalf of the Atlanta Department of Transportation to include transportation impact fee funding in an amount not to exceed $1,272,785.00 and for other purposes. This item was favorable in Community Development Human Services Committee yesterday.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second, Brown.
The vote is open. Vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable. And our final item is number 40 on the agenda. It is an appraisal. The purpose of the appraisal is to estimate the market value of the unpaved right-of-way of Solomon Avenue Southeast from Allendale Drive Southeast to Ashburton Avenue, abandoned pursuant to Ordinance 88-0-1735, consisting of approximately 0.09 acres lying and being in land lot 182 of the 15th District of DeKalb County, Georgia. The market value has been determined to be $50,200.00.
All right. Is there who's speaking to this one?
I believe Ms. Cheryl Glenn Snooks or Mr. Mike Reardon are on the line, should be on the line.
Yes, Cheryl Glenn Snooks with Department of Enterprise Asset Management. The purpose of this appraisal was to determine the value for the unpaid right-of-way of Salmon Avenue. The appraisal has been reviewed by the Real Estate Division, and the Chief Procurement Officer has approved the fair market value to be $50,200. All reservations of the existing and private utility easements shall remain in place until such utilities are abandoned, removed, or relocated.
Just so I can play catch up, Ms. Snooks, Glenn Snooks, what's the purpose of this? I mean, so this was done in 1988. And you just have to update the appraisal?
No. Well, the property owners at the time in 1988 requested that the property be abandoned, the right-of-way. It was approved. However, one of the property owners did not move forward with acquiring the portion of right-of-way adjacent to his property and has now come back to acquire that portion. Therefore, we had to get another appraisal done to establish the fair market value.
And then, so at some point, we would sell this to this person?
Upon this appraisal being approved by the Transportation Committee, we will provide a quick claim deed, and the property owner will be able to acquire the right-of-way for $50,000, $200. Yes, and it will be adjacent to his property. It will be added to his land.
Okay. And Nick City has deemed it not of use to us. Got it.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
No, that's fine. Ms. Fulandini, I guess, is this legislation? Do we have to approve it, or is it just for us to?
The motion would be to accept it, and we'll need to do a voice vote on this item.
A voice vote, not an electronic vote. Okay.
Yes.
All right. The motion is to accept, and is there a second? And then we'll get a vote.
Second, Matsukai.
All right. All in favor, say yay.
Aye.
Yay.
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 Any opposed? All right. Ms. Fulandini, is that an acceptable way to do that by phone, or do I need to do it a different way?
No, and if you could just confirm that there are no abstentions.
Any abstentions? All right. No abstentions, no no's. So all yays.
And the item has been accepted. And that concludes all of our legislative items.
All right. That's that. Anyone else have any comments or questions, or else we can adjourn? All right. Thank you, Council members.
Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you all. All right. Thank you. You guys take care. We stand adjourned.